Hello, people. Good evening. Hope everybody is doing great. So I see only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of you. Fine. So now that we have completed our syllabus, right? So you can actually maybe if any of you have any particular topic to be discussed, anything to be taught again, not the entire chapter, obviously, right? So if at all you want any particular topic, we can actually look into it. Anybody has any specific thing like that in any of the chapters? I think you have 7 chapters, I guess, right? I think it is some basic concepts of chemistry, atomic structure, periodic classification, chemical bonding, general organic chemistry, and one more. What is the one more thing? What I missed?
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen you leave. Right. So 5 chapters I'm considering. Okay. So anything you want me to teach again, any particular topic? Anybody? See, this can be open. It is whatever you need, you can tell me. Right. Again, anybody can ask. Right. There is no restriction here. So anybody has anything to do? Any particular topic anybody needs from any chapter? Nobody needs anything. Shailaja, Raghav, anything? Ashwath, Kanishk, and Shreyajitya. Okay. And if you don't have anything in specific, then maybe I'll do something. Let me share my screen. Okay, fine. So maybe I'll ask you some questions. We'll solve some questions maybe. Fine. So if I ask you, okay, I have ICl2 plus, okay, or fine, I'll write ICl3 minus. ICl2 minus. Can someone tell me what is the shape and geometry of this molecule? Shape and your geometry. What are these? I'll give you two minutes time. Think about it. Work it out. Take your notebooks. Please don't sit idle. ICl2 minus. Shape and geometry.
Sir, its shape is trigonal bipyramidal.
Shape is trigonal pyramidal. Geometry is trigonal bipyramidal.
Sorry, sir. Geometry.
Okay, so geometry is trigonal bipyramidal is correct. Okay, fine. What about the shape? Okay, fine. So for geometry, what we should do first, all you have to do is find the steric number, right? So if you know the steric number for a particular steric number, particular geometry, right? So if you check for iodine, I mean, if you check for ICl2 minus iodine is what we have to do the hybridization and the shape and everything, right? Okay, so iodine have to find steric number. What is the first steric number formula? Steric number formula is number of atoms bonded, make it bigger. Okay, number of atoms bonded to the central atom plus the number of lone pairs on the central atom, right? So you have to calculate this, you have to add these both terms, right? Number of atoms bonded to the central atom plus number of lone pairs on the central atom, right? Okay, so number of atoms in this case is very simple. Iodine to the central atom, okay, to the central atom, how many atoms are bonded, which is 2. Steric number will be equal to 2. 2 chlorine atoms are there bonded to iodine, so 2 plus I have to calculate the number of lone pairs on iodine. So I know iodine will have 7 valence electrons, so my 7 valence electrons, say minus is there, so that means one more electron is going to come. What happened? One second. Okay. Right. So 7 valence electrons are there in iodine, right? And minus is there, ICl2 1 minus. So plus 1 electron I'll add to make it 8 valence electrons. Now out of these 8 valence electrons, so the 2 chlorine atoms are there. So two electrons are involved in bonding, right? I mean, there will be 2 covalent bonds. So for 2 covalent bonds, iodine will give 1 electron, chlorine will give 1 electron, another term like that, right? Only 2 electrons will go from iodine. So now how many electrons you have? 6 electrons are still left out in this iodine, right? So 6 electrons means it will be 3 lone pairs, right? 6 electrons means 3 lone pairs, 1 pair, 2 electrons, right? So steric number is 2 bonding atoms plus 3 lone pairs, 5. The moment you see 5, I'm going to have the geometry to be fixed. Geometry is for steric number 5, geometry is TBD, trigonal bipyramidal. Trigonal bipyramidal, right? So we know how it looks, right? Fine. Anyways, so now what we understand is this is having this is belonging to the type of A, B, 2, L, 3. How? A is the central atom, that is your iodine, right? And B2 is your bonding atoms, that is your chlorine, 2 bonding atoms. And we have found out that it has 3 lone pairs, right? So L3. Right? Okay. So this is belong to this. Now, anyways, so if you take the trigonal bipyramidal geometry, this is how it is going to look. You have 3 equatorial bonds and 2 axial bonds. This, and this are equatorial bonds, and the top and bottom ones are the axial bonds that we know already. Right? Now, we have to understand there is this thing. So if it are all are bonding atoms, no problem. B, all 5 places you could be. Right? But since I have only 2 bonding atoms and 3 lone pairs, you have to understand where do we put the lone pair first, right? So there is something called as a Bent rule, right? Which says lone pair has to go to equatorial position. Okay, if it are in this is only for trigonal bipyramidal geometry, people, right? So fine. Anyway, so where you have to put the lone pairs in the equatorial position. So there are 3 lone pairs. So 1, 2, and 3. I hope you understand. These are the equatorial positions where I'm putting it. Right now, obviously, the other axial bonds are going to be your bonding atoms B and B. Right now, this is your geometry. Right now, what happens with the shape? In the shape, you should not include the lone pairs. Okay, only in the geometry you will show the lone pairs. In the shape, you will not show the lone pairs. So the shape, you just remove the 3 lone pairs. All you have is this much, right? All you have is what? This shape is nothing but a linear shape. Very simple, right? I just remove, I didn't show the lone pairs, I just showed the bonding atoms. That's it. This is how it is, linear. Okay, so the geometry is trigonal bipyramidal. The shape is linear shaped. Okay, I hope everybody understood this question. All your first, in any kind of molecule, first you find the steric number. Based on the steric number, you can easily find your geometry. You do the geometry, take the lone pairs out, whatever is remaining is again not exactly what is remaining. The bonds will shift, it will move because of repulsion, and you are going to get the shape. Okay, right. Say one more question like this will solve. Anybody has any questions in this? Okay, fine. Cool. Say if I give you SO4, fine, not SO4, SO3. No, SO3 also no. I will give SF4. Okay, this I'll give again, but this will be again steric number 5 only. I will give you fine, SO4 2 minus only I'll give you. Okay, I want to do this for, I want to find what is the shape and geometry. Okay, all three things you can find: shape, geometry, and the hybridization. Okay, all these three you can find and tell me what are the answers. So I gave you a table, if you can remember, right? For that particular type, that will be the shape, that will be the geometry, bond angle, examples, everything we saw, steric number, right? I hope you have the table with you. Again, obviously in exams you cannot have, you should know, okay, this particular type means this particular geometry or shape. Type means I'm talking about AB2L3, AB4, AB5, AB4L, something like that. That is what is called as type. So hope you know your next part test will be for, the syllabus will be periodic table and chemical bonding, right? Or actually, we can do one thing, right? Instead of doing this, we can solve your. Do you have your DPTs, people? Did you get your DPTs, daily practice tests, something like that? Did you get some assignments, things for each chapter? Did you get? People, did you get any DPTs? Something called as DPTs from Excellent Academy? Some daily practice, some chapter-wise questions, some question bank, something like that. Did you get? Yes, no. Are you able to hear me, people? Hello? Are you guys able to hear me? Is something wrong? I mean, I don't know.
Sir, so, today no DPT test is given, sir.
Okay, so today, I don't know. There's no. I'm not talking about the test. Did you get any question bank kind of stuff for each chapter? Okay, I don't know whether you got it or not. Fine. Okay, we'll continue with this. Right. So yeah, for SO42 minus, shape, geometry, and hybridization. I'll just call out names. Just tell me no. Tell me. Well, let me know whether you're there or not. Okay, Shailaja is there. Strain, are you there? Strain. Okay, Strain is there. Fine. Srinidhi, are you there, Kana?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sri Sai Raghav, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then Suprajit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tarush. Tarush, are you there? Okay. I don't know what's wrong with Tarush. Fine. So I hope you guys are doing this for SO42 minus. Right. So the first thing would be for you to find the hybridization. We know to find the steric. We have to find the steric number. You know the formula for steric number, right? Go for it, and then from the hybridization from your steric number directly you can find your geometry, and obviously now you apply your VSCPR, you'll be able to get your shape. Yes, steric number. Anybody found out? For SO42 minus, you have to find for sulfur, right? Only for the central atom.
So
Anybody? 4, right? So how do you do this? Now you have to understand that generally oxygen will form double bond, right? But if it is O minus, it will form only single bond. Okay, oxygen atom, double bond. O minus, if you have, that is going to form a single bond. Okay, now you see that there are 2 minus, right? That means there are 4 oxygen atoms. That means 2 normal oxygen atoms, right? And then you see that 2 of them are going to be O minus, right? Now that, if you understand, this is all about for the electron calculation. Now how many electrons are there? That calculation. Okay, so sulfur has 6 valence electrons, right? Now 2 oxygen atom means 2 double bonds will be there, right? So can I from sulfur 2 electrons are gone? Sorry, 4 electrons are gone. Correct. See, you can understand. For example, if you have S double bond O and S double bond O, you see that there is 1 electron gone from this sulfur to this oxygen, another electron gone in the form of a pi bond. Again, this in this case, another electron here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 electrons are gone for sulfur double bond O's. Okay, now other than that, you have 2 O minus. Now single bonds only. For 1 O minus, 1 bond. So 1 electron, 2 O minus, 2 bonds, 2 electrons. So there are no lone pairs, 0. Right? So directly you can find steric number is equal to number of bonding atoms plus number of lone pairs. Right? There are no lone pairs, only 4 bonding atoms. So it is 4. Right? Now the moment you know steric number is 4, the hybridization is done. sp3. Right? And the moment you know it is sp3, you know the geometry, that is tetrahedral. Right? And the moment, now in this case, there are no lone pairs, right? Whenever you have no lone pairs, the shape and geometry become same. Right? When that will happen? When you don't have any lone pair in the central atom. In this case, sulfur doesn't have any lone pair, so the shape as well as geometry is tetrahedral. Okay, so this is how it is going to look, right? So 1 is double bond O, another is double bond O, 1 oxygen O minus, another oxygen O minus, something like this, right? You understand what do you mean by this wedge and dash? Wedge means coming towards you, dash means going away from you, and these two are in the same plane. There's no O minus here, I'm so sorry. Okay, double bond rule. That's it. Okay, right. Moving on. Okay, say if I tell is it, from your portions molecular orbital theory is omitted.
No, sir, we have it.
You have it, right? Okay, fine. Because in the fine. Okay. So if I ask you, O2 plus, okay, O2 1 plus, I have. Tell me whether it is paramagnetic or diamagnetic. I have the species O2 plus. Tell me whether it is paramagnetic or diamagnetic. So how do you decide whether it's paramagnetic or diamagnetic? You obviously have to go for the molecular orbital theory. You have to write the molecular orbital configuration, sigma 1s, sigma star 1s, right? That you have to write. And then you have to check in the electronic configuration. Based on the electronic configuration, in the molecular orbital, you will decide whether the species is paramagnetic or diamagnetic, right? So what
Sir,
will you look for?
paramagnetic.
Yeah, tell me. Oh, you're
No,
telling
sir,
it is
the answer is
paramagnetic? Paramagnetic.
yes, sir. I
Okay,
think.
okay, fine. So how do we decide this? You have to understand that for paramagnetic, at least one unpaired electron, single electron which is not paired should be there, right? And for diamagnetic, if you have no unpaired electrons, all are paired, right? Then that becomes diamagnetic. Okay, so for O2 plus, how will you do? See, first calculate how many electrons are there. In one oxygen, 8 electrons. So 2 oxygens means 16
13,
electrons.
sir.
13.
Sorry, 11, sir. 11.
It will be 15, right? Say one oxygen has 8 electrons. 2 oxygen atoms will have 16. Plus means 1 electrons lost. So totally 16 should have been there. Because of the plus minus 1 electron, totally how much? 15 electrons. Okay, right? I hope everybody gets this. How is it 15 electrons? Oxygen atomic number is 8, 2,6, right? So 8 into 2 is 16, 16 minus 1 because I have a positive charge. So it is 15 electrons. Okay, so let us do this. So 15 electrons you have to fill. So it will be sigma 1 is 2, sigma star 1 is 2, sigma 2 s2, sigma star 2 s2. Then comes, it is less than 15, right? So no, we have to take whatever is this thing. So it should be sigma 2p z2 pi 2p x2 pi 2p y2. You should actually put 1 1 then 2 2. Okay, right? So how many over till now? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, that means you have to remove. Okay, one more electron only that will come in the pi star 2px1, and that's it, is equal to pi star 2py0. There are no electrons here. If you have one more electron, then you have to put one electron in this, right? Okay, now you see all of them are paired here, but you see this particular one electron, it will be unpaired. Okay, so definitely your O2 plus is paramagnetic.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in these sums, if we get like odd number of electrons, then we can directly say that it's
No,
paramagnetic.
we cannot say like that, right? Say for example, some species you will have actually problems, especially in oxygen species. If I have to tell you, maybe O2. See, for example, if you take O2 itself, right? O2 has how many electrons? 16 electrons, right? Okay. Now 16 lessons, what you did, instead of this, you would have put 1 here, right? So it is an even number, but still you see 2 unpaired electrons. So it is actually paramagnetic again. Are you able to understand what I'm telling? Right? So if you
Yes,
have
sir.
even numbers also, you can get paramagnetism. It's not like only odd numbers will give you. It is better to write the configuration fully and then check. Okay, right. So
Okay, sir.
I hope everybody understood, right? If you have an unpaired electron, you have to write the electronic configuration first, calculate the number of electrons, write the configuration, and then check for unpaired electrons. Then you decide what will be, I mean, whether it's paramagnetic or diamagnetic. If it has unpaired electrons, paramagnetic. No unpaired electrons, diamagnetic. Okay. Say one more question. Let us see if you can do this. Say I take say C2 2 minus. Okay, I'll write again. C2 2 minus. Tell me whether it's paramagnetic or diamagnetic.
So paramagnetic.
Okay, fine. So let us check. So carbon has 6 as atomic number, right? So 6 into 2 is 12, right? 12 and 2 more electrons are going to come because of 2 minus, right? So 12 plus 2 will become 14 electrons total, right? Let us fill it 1s2, sorry, sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2. Then you have pi. Now you see there's a difference between the electronic configuration. Here, after sigma 2s, sigma star 2s2, we write sigma 2tz because you have two different electronic, in the arrangement of orbitals will be different for different configurations. I mean, different number of electrons. If the total number of electrons is greater than 15, right, greater than or equal to 15, you will use this. If it is the total number of electrons is lesser than or equal to 14, then you will use this configuration. Okay, I hope everybody knows this, right? Two different configurations will be there, right? So you have sigma 2s2, then pi 2px2, how much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so sigma 2py2, right? Now 10, now to 14 more, right? So 4 more electron. Then comes your sigma 2pz2, then pi 2px1 equal to pi 2py1, isn't it? This would have been the configuration, right? So again, you see,
Sir,
even though it, yeah,
sir, actually there are 16 electrons in your
okay,
diagram.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, fine. This is not there. Okay, this is not there. Now what do you see? All the electrons are paired. There are no unpaired electrons. So this is not paramagnetic. This is diamagnetic. Okay, there will be a change in the electronic configuration. Okay, because it is having lesser than 14 electrons or equal to that, right? There will be a shift, not in this, yeah, between these two only, correct? Okay, this will go here and this will come here if I put the total number of electrons greater than equal to 50, 1, 5. Okay, right. So that is paramagnetic or diamagnetic. Now, if I ask you to find say, fine, I give you like this. I have BF3, BeCl2, and I have CH4, and I have ammonia and water. Okay. Now I want you to arrange them in the order of their bond angles. Right? Arrange them in the order of their bond angles. BeCl2. Okay. So for this, you need to know the shapes, geometry. No, we need to know the shapes, not the geometries. Shapes you need to know. Okay, I want specifically one person to answer this question. I would want maybe it is Sri Sai Raghav. You will answer this question. Okay, the bond angle. Right? It doesn't matter whether it's correct or wrong, but I want you to try. Right? Okay, Sai Raghav. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Sir, the bond angle of BF3 is 120 degree.
Okay.
BeCl2 is 180.
Okay.
CH4 is 109.5,
Okay.
and then NH3 is 107, sir,
Okay.
and H2 is 104.5.
Okay. Fine. So I don't know how you got these numbers. These numbers are okay. How you got them, I can understand, but I don't know how specifically you got these numbers. Okay. Anyways, so generally, how do you answer this question? Right? Generally, how do you
Sir,
answer this question? Yeah.
So first we can find the hybridization and then the shape of the.
Okay.
Sorry,
Can
the
you tell me?
geometry of
Yeah.
the.
Can you tell me what is the shape of BF3 here?
So BF3 is 1 second, sir. Sir, it's trigonal planar.
Okay. So trigonal planar means it is going to look like this. Right? So this you can easily understand that the bond angle is 120 degree. Okay. For beryllium chloride, what is the shape?
It's linear.
Linear. Good. Right? So beryllium chloride will look like this. Right? So you can easily understand that the bond angle is 180 degrees. Okay. What is the shape of this CH4? CH4 shape? Raghav, are you there? Okay. I think there was some problem. Is Raghav still here? Okay. No. Fine. So CH4 would have been tetrahedral. Right? Ammonia, this ammonia would have been just pyramidal shape. Okay, tetrahedral, you know how it will look, right? So two hydrogens like this, two more hydrogens to be out of the plane. H and H. Right? So this bond angle would be 109 degree, 5 minutes. Right? And ammonia will be pyramidal, as I told you. Right? This is how it will look. H, H, and H. This is a pyramid. This is a pyramid kind of structure. Right. So here you see that there'll be a lone pair here. Right. Now, if this was a bonding atom, now what would have happened? It would have been tetrahedral like this, 109 degrees. Right. So since I have this lone pair bond pair repulsions, these bonds will come closer. Right. So what will happen? You will see that there'll be reduction in the bond angle. That's why from 109.5 degrees, now it is going to 107 because there is lone pair bond pair repulsion. Okay, fine. Next, if I go to H2O, H2O is bent shaped, right? So you will have O, H, H, something like this, right? Now, why is it like this? Because now I see that oxygen has two lone pairs, right? So there'll be lone pair repulsions, and because of that, they will come little farther away, and that brings these two bonds come very, very close to each other. Right. So last time, in this case of ammonia, you had only lone pair bond pair repulsion, lone pair bond pair repulsion. But in this case, you have lone pair repulsion that will make sure that it is going to have more repulsion. That is going to decrease the bond angle so much. And that's why you have 104 degree, 5 minutes, whatever it is, a lesser bond angle. Okay. Right. I don't know why. 1 second. I don't know why people are moving. Okay, now you came. Raghav, are you there? It's connecting to audio, I guess. Now only. Okay, fine. Next question. I hope everybody understood this. Right. Say I give you 4 options. A, H2O, B, NH3, C, BF3, D, what should I give? BF3, H2O. I'll say I give SO Okay. Now I'm giving all this. I want to know which of the following is a non-polar compound. Right, out of these four options, which is non-polar? Shailaja, can you answer this question? No, Sai Raghav, I'm not able to hear you. Are you speaking? Yeah, I see that you have unmuted yourself, but I think there is some problem. I'm not able to hear you. Okay, Shailaja, can you answer this question? Shailaja? Shailaja has unmuted. Why am I not able to hear? Are you able to hear me? Can you type it in the chat? Shailaja, something now is moving. Can you speak? I'm not able to hear you. Oh, sir, I am speaking. I understand. But why am I not able to hear? Okay, maybe I will rejoin. Maybe if both of you are having this problem. 1 second, guys. Right. So let me rejoin and then you make me host again. Okay. Whomever is becoming the host. Right. Maybe I will make Sri Sai Raghav the host and then go. Okay. And then make me the host when I'm back. Yeah, people. Now you're able to hear me. Can you speak? Anybody?
Sir, can you hear, sir?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yes. Okay. Can you make me host, Raghav?
Sir, I already made, sir.
Oh, you already made. Great. Okay. Yeah. So Shailaja, now can you speak? Shailaja? Okay, fine. Strain, are you there, Kana? Strain will chat. Yeah, Shailaja, I am speaking. Are you able to hear me, Shailaja? You're not able to hear me? Oh God. Everybody else is able to hear me?
So for a while, I was not able to hear you, so I just rejoined, sir. Now I can hear you.
Okay. Now you're able to hear me, right? Why is there so much issues? I don't understand today, especially. Okay. You will rejoin, Shailaja. Okay, fine. Fine. Strayan, are you there? Oh, here, sir. Okay, yeah. Strayan said here. Yes. Okay, Strayan, can you answer this question? So I asked, which of these four is non-polar, is what I'm asking. Yeah, what would be a guess out of these four, which is non-polar? If you all you have to blindly guess this. H2O. Okay. No, that is not how you do this. Okay. So how you have to do this is, see, for non-polar molecules, this is what you have to understand. They should have net dipole moment should be 0. Okay. Their net dipole, it's not about no dipole moment should be there. Net dipole moment, right? Overall dipole moment should be equal to 0. Okay, fine. So let us try to understand what for all these compounds, whether net dipole moment is 0 or not. For again, you have to look at the shapes of these molecules only. So H2O is like this, and I know I have 2 lone pairs like this, right? So we know the dipole moment direction should be towards what? Should be towards more electronegative atom, or it should be towards lone pairs, right? Towards lone pairs or towards more electronegative atom. Okay. So anyways, now you see that there is one bond here. I know this is a polar bond. Oxygen is more electronegative. So you will have one dipole moment, another dipole moment towards like this for oxygen, right? Now you have lone pairs also. For one lone pair, you will have one lone pair, this thing like this, another lone pair, another this thing like this. Eventually, overall, what will you see is that the net dipole moment is not cancelling. Everything is almost pointing in the same direction. Overall, you will see a net dipole moment like this. So mu net, that is your dipole moment net, is not equal to 0. So H2O is polar. Okay, right. Next, ammonia molecule, we'll check. H, H, and H. First, obviously, there's a lone pair. Okay, so towards nitrogen, because these bonds are highly polar. I mean, polar means we know there is difference in electronegativity, right? And for the lone pair, it should be pointing up, right? So these are the 4 individual dipole moments. The net dipole moment again will be pointing up. So the mu net is not 0, so polar again, right? Next, for BF3, we'll check. Okay, now towards this fluorine, because fluorine is more electronegative. Now you see that this molecule is symmetric, right? So eventually everything will get cancelled out, right? Because this will have a component, which will be going like this, this will have a component going like this and this, right? Eventually everything will cancel. So you'll see that for this mu net is equal to 0. Okay, so BF3 is the one which is non-polar. Okay, SO2 will check. Okay, SO2 will be like this, double bond O with sulfur having a lone pair. Again, towards oxygen, and towards this lone pair. Even though you see that something is pointing down, something is pointing up, but they are not same, right? So eventually you will have, and you will see that the lone pair's dipole moment is very strong. So overall, you'll have a small dipole moment pointing upwards, right? So mu net again is not equal to 0. Again, so this will be polar molecule. Okay, so all that you have to understand is if net dipole moment is 0, then the molecule is non-polar. If it is not 0, that is polar, and you have to understand how do you do the directions of dipole moment. Okay, right? I hope you understood, Shane. How do you do these questions? Right, fine. Next question. Fine. Option A. H2 2 minus Li2 2 plus He2 Li2 plus 1 plus. Okay, now the question is, which of these molecules exist? Right, out of them only one of them exists, right? Which one exists? Okay, so I will want okay, good strain. Ashwath, are you there, Kana? Ashwath? Okay, Ashwath, I think is there in the chat. Right. Can you answer this question, Ashwath? Right, let me show it to you. Yeah, so these are the 4 compounds. right? There are 4 ions or compounds, whatever it is. Which of them exist is the question. Li2 plus exist. Good, good. Why? How did he say the correct? How did he say the answer, Kana? Can you know? It's better that you can unmute and speak. That would be better rather than typing. Oh, you don't have a mic. Okay, fine. Anyways, fine. So I think you told the correct answer by doing the correct thing only. Let me tell everybody, right? Okay, so people, what we have to understand is if bond order is equal to 0, that means the molecule does not exist. Okay, this is the point which we have to remember. Okay, if you find that the bond order is equal to 0, then that means that particular molecular ion does not exist, right? So we know how to calculate bond order. What is the formula for bond order? VO, half into number of electrons in, sorry?
Half NB minus NA.
Correct. Now number of electrons in bonding orbital minus number of electrons in anti-bonding orbital, right? So you have to write the molecular orbital configuration for all of them. Find the bond orders. Whichever bond order is equal to 0, that means the molecule does not exist. And whichever molecule has some bond order, that means it exists. So you will see that Li2 plus will exist. 1 plus, sorry, Li1 plus will exist. Okay, so we'll calculate for H2 minus. So H2 has 2 electrons totally, but 2 minus means 4 electrons, right? So 4 electrons, how will you do? Sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, right? You go for bond order calculations. Half into how much? 2 minus 2, 0. So 2 minus 2 is 0. Done. So this does not exist. Okay. Next, Li2 2 plus. Now, Li2, lithium has 3 electrons, 1 lithium, 2 lithiums will have 6 electrons. Now, plus 2 means 2 electrons are gone. So totally how many electrons? Again, 4 electrons. Again, you'll see the same thing, 0. Bond order will be 0. He2, 1 helium has 2 electrons, 2 heliums will have 4 electrons. Again, 0. No bond order. Does not exist, right? So for Li2 1 plus, lithium has 3, 2 lithiums has 6, and 1 plus is there. So 5 electrons. Now all you have to do is you write sigma 2s1, right? So now what happens? Number of bonding electrons becomes 3, right? So 3 minus 1 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 by 2 is 0.5. So this is not 0. So this is the only molecule that will exist. Okay, right? Very easy, very, very easy. Okay, next question. Let me ask. Okay, which question should I ask? Okay. Okay, right. Whom should I ask? Okay, maybe Shailaja, now you'll be able to answer. Are you there? Shailaja, are you able to hear me? Okay, fine. Tarush, I think first time also I didn't hear you speaking. Are you there, Tarush? Okay, fine. So what the question is, anybody can answer. Okay, the question is, I want to know number of sigma bonds and number of pi bonds. Okay, now please understand there are hydrogen atoms also. right? So in but the question will ask you like this only. Each carbon should have 4 bonds. All the carbon atoms should have 4 bonds. So if at all how many ever bonds missing, that many hydrogen atoms will be there. For example, for you check for this carbon, first bond, second bond, third bond, 3 bonds are only there. So there will be 1 hydrogen attached to this. Okay, there will be 1 hydrogen. So you can like that, you can check. So obviously you will understand that all these are hydrogen atoms. There is no hydrogen. In this carbon and this carbon, already 4 bonds satisfied. You can check. For this carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds. Again, for this, you'll have 4 bonds already satisfied. But the other ones will have hydrogens here. Okay. Now, this is nothing but your naphthalene. Okay. The naphthalene balls which you use in your bureaus, your cupboards for insects not to come, right? The white color balls you would have seen, right? So this is this molecule, naphthalene. Okay, 2 benzene rings sandwiched. So how many sigma bonds, how many pi bonds?
Sir, is it 6 pi bonds?
Okay, 6 pi bonds, right? How many sigma?
Sir, is it 18 sigma bonds?
Okay, good. We'll check, right? So CH sigma bonds or sigma bonds only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So CH 8 sigma bonds, CH sigma 8. Okay, now we'll check for carbon. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 sigma bonds. So CC sigma bonds are 10 totally. Yes, 18. Correct. Right. So 18 sigma bonds and 6 pi bonds I have in naphthalene. Very, very easy. Okay, fine. Next question. Next question is okay. Why am I not getting any question? Okay. Okay, now I have these 2 molecules. Okay, this is not from GOC. Okay, don't worry. This is from chemical bonding only, right? So you have these 2 compounds, which has more boiling point. This compound number 1 or compound number 2, which has more boiling point. So if I have to give you any clue, right, the clue lies in hydrogen bonding. Yes, any answers? Or what is your guess? Which will have higher boiling point? If I'll ask you to guess, what will be your guess?
Sir, is it the first one?
Okay, fine. Fine. So how do you answer these questions? We'll try to understand this, right? See, or we ought to understand this: strong hydrogen bonds. If you have, right, that means high boiling points. Okay, this is what you have to remember. Okay, strong hydrogen bonds means high boiling point. Okay, now how do you decide which will have strong? Now in this case, you say everything is same. OH NO2 benzene ring, OH NO2 benzene ring. It's just that the NO2 is little far away from OH. In this case, NO2 is little close to OH. Right. Now we know that there can be two types of hydrogen bonding. Right, hydrogen bonding can be of two types. One is what is called as intramolecular. Right. The other one is what is called as intermolecular. Right, other one is what is called as intermolecular. Right, now please understand, intermolecular is stronger than intramolecular. Intermolecular is between two compounds, right? Here only one compound is involved, right? Now you see that I can have the hydrogen bonding between this hydrogen. Now before we move on to this, hope you know, for hydrogen bonding to happen, I need two criteria to be satisfied. One is what I need is hydrogen donors. Another one, what I need is what is called as hydrogen acceptors. Hydrogen donors should have an electronegative atom attached to hydrogen, and this electronegative atom can either be oxygen, nitrogen, or fluorine. So if you have a NH bond or a OH bond or a FH bond, hydrogen donor, done. Right? Acceptors, nothing, anything which has a lone pair. Right? Any atom nearby which is having a lone pair can act as a hydrogen acceptor. Right? So how do we show this? For example, if I take, say, H2O molecule, HOH, right? Now you see that there is a OH bond, right? There'll be a del plus on this, del minus on this, and there'll be another oxygen atom having like this. Now you will have a lone pair. So this is your hydrogen donor HD, and this is your hydrogen acceptor HA, because this is going to provide the lone pair, so hydrogen acceptor, and this is going to have OH, the distinct bond. So you can have an interaction between these two. This dotted line, whatever you're showing, that interaction is what is called as your hydrogen bonding. Okay, now in this case, whatever I'm showing you is your intermolecular. Two compounds, one water, second water, two compounds, two molecules, right? But if you take in this case, right, if you take in the first molecule, now you see that there is a OH bond. Okay, del plus is there. Nitrogen is having a lone pair. You can have a hydrogen bonding here itself. Just let me show you properly. Okay, so I have an oxygen atom which has a hydrogen, which is having a del plus, this is having a del minus, and nitrogen is having a lone pair. So you can have an interaction here. Right, now you see there is only one molecule, there are two molecules, just one molecule. This is intramolecular hydrogen bonding. But in this case, I have no choice that I cannot have a hydrogen bonding between this hydrogen and this nitrogen, because this is very far away from each other. Right, but you can show the hydrogen bonding like this, right? OH, NO2. Now you can take the next molecule, say NO2, you write here. Now you see that del plus is there, a lone pair is there, again hydrogen bonding, right? Again, I can show it here also. OH is there. Now you see that there's del plus, nitrogen has a lone pair, again you can have a hydrogen bonding, right? So this is, in this case, it is intermolecular. Okay, now what did I tell you? Intermolecular hydrogen bonding is stronger than intramolecular hydrogen bonding. So definitely two will have a higher boiling point. Okay, the boiling point of 2 will be greater because it is having intermolecular, but one is having only intramolecular. That is, hydrogen bonding is okay, but it is little weak compared to intermolecular hydrogen bonding, which is shown like this. Okay, right, fine. So that is about hydrogen bonding. That also be revised. Okay. One more question will solve. Any questions anybody has? Everybody understood what is hydrogen bonding? How do you decide? How do you draw the structures? What is intra? What is inter? I hope everybody understood. One question itself, see how much division we are doing. Okay, fine. Next, if I ask you NaCl, MgCl2, AlCl3, okay, AlCl3, okay, fine, all these three, okay, arrange them in the order of solubility in benzene. Okay, again, lot of concepts will be converged into this. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Any answers? Any guesses? Which is going to have maximum solubility in benzene? Any answers? Any guesses? People, or least soluble? Okay, fine. So benzene, remember that it is a non-polar solvent. Okay, non-polar solvent, right? And also it's a covalent compound, right? Benzene, I know it's a covalent compound. Okay, right. Now what we have to understand is whenever we go to solubility, we have to remember this phrase, like dissolves like. Okay, like dissolves like. What is this? When you have a polar solute that will dissolve only in a polar solvent. Okay, same way, when you have a non-polar solute, right, that will dissolve in a non-polar solvent only. Right, this is what you mean by like dissolves like. If you have one type of thing that will dissolve only in that type of solvent, right? Polar solute means dissolve only in polar solvent. Non-polar solute means dissolve only in non-polar solvents. Okay, now we know that benzene is a non-polar solvent. That means it's a covalent compound also. Generally, okay, one that is thing that. So if at all I asked you solubility in water, then you know water is a polar solvent. Right? The answer, whatever you get for benzene exactly would have been reversed. Right? So how do you answer these questions? So whenever they give you non-polar or polar, right? Say, understand this. I know the covalent compounds are non-polar. Right? So for this, whichever of these are say maximum covalent, right? I would say more covalent character. Okay, let me write it like this. More covalent character, right? More solubility in non-polar solvents. Because more covalent means it is going towards less polar, right? Right? So less polar means it is going to be soluble in non-polar solvents, or in other words, more ionic character. Right? Now that would be having more solubility in polar solvents like water. Okay, right? So this is the thing which you have to remember. Okay, right? So more covalent compound means it is going to be less, so more soluble in non-polar solvent and less soluble in polar, right? And more ionic means it is going to be more soluble in polar solvents. Very simple, right? Now the next question is, how do we decide which is more covalent or less ionic or more covalent? How do we decide that? Right? For that only we have your Fajron's rule. Right? For only I have your Fajron's rule. Hope you know what is Fajron's rule, right? So that is for cations first. Yeah, you know, polarizability, polarizing power. We discussed so much about this if you can remember. Okay, so for cations, charge, size, first you say size is inversely proportional to the covalent character. Isn't it? No. Right? Size, smaller species, more covalent. Yeah, character. Right? So size and covalent character are inversely related. Right? And charge and covalent character are directly related. Okay, now that is for cations. For anions, right, size is directly proportional to covalent character, right, and charge is again directly proportional to the covalent character. Okay, now remember this. Okay, this is Fajron's rule, very, very, very important. Okay, for cation, size and covalent character are inversely proportional. Charge in both these cases are directly proportional to covalent. More charge, more covalent character, right? But for anion, size and covalent character are directly proportional. Here it is inversely proportional for cations. All right, fine. Now, if you look at this, the anions are same. All are Cl minus. Here also Cl minus. Here also Cl minus are the anions, right? But look at the cations. Na plus, Mg2 plus, Al3 plus. Correct. Now, what did I tell you for charge? More charged, more covalent, right? So I have Al3 plus, more charge. So can I tell this is going to be having maximum covalent character, right? And NaCl is going to be having minimum covalent character or more ionic character, right? Minimum more covalent or more ionic, and this is less ionic. Correct. Okay, so what we understand, what did I tell you now? More covalent means more soluble in non-polar solvent, right? So this is more soluble and this is more covalent. So this will be more soluble in benzene, which is a non-polar solvent. So this would have been the order of solubility. Okay, but if I had asked you the same question on water, then NaCl would have been the maximum soluble, AlCl would have been the least soluble in water. But in benzene, since benzene is a non-polar solvent, more covalent compounds are soluble in covalent solvents or non-polar solvents. Right? I hope you get this. Right? Say, can you do this? If I ask you, I have say NaF, NaCl, NaBr, and NaI, can you arrange them in the order of ionic character? Right? Arrange them in the order of ionic character. Quickly do it. NaF, NaCl, NaBr, NaI. So all you have to do is this. Use the Fajron's rule and do this. So here the cations are same, Na plus. So only have to look into the anions only. Remember, more covalent character means less ionic character, right? So I have given you Fajon's rule only for covalent character. This much time is not required. What is the answer? Anybody has the answer? It's okay if you're wrong, you can tell me. Which is going to have maximum ionic character? Or which is going to have the least ionic character? Okay, fine. It's very simple. All are Na plus here. You can understand. Na, right? But the anions are different here. F minus, Cl minus, Br minus, and I minus. Right? Now all charges are same, right? All 1 minus, 1 minus, 1 minus, 1 minus. So charge we cannot use here. Okay. So obviously you have to use your size only, right? So size, now when I have F, Cl, Br, and I belong to the same group, when I go down the group, what happens? Size increases. Now, what did I tell you? More size, more covalent character. So I minus is the largest. So that will have the maximum covalent character and least ionic character. Let me write this. Okay. So this is going to have the I minus is the largest size among these. So maximum covalent character. So least ionic character. Right? So that is going to be the least, and I know NaFF is the smallest, so least ionic character, so maximum ionic character. So this would be the order of ionic character. Okay, right? Very simple question, right? So I think we'll stop with this today. I have touched every possible area from which question can be asked, right? So now all you have to do is revise, solve a lot of questions, and go for the test. They're very simple. Okay, right? So any particular questions anybody has? Sir, I'm having another class at 6:30. Yeah, anyways, what to say? Completing the class. That's it. Right. Okay. Thank you so much, people. We'll meet again.